Tell me when you're ready. Not ready yet?
Whenever. It might be a good one.
Shall I go ahead, Connie?
Yeah, I think you should go ahead.
like
It's
turn.
back. It's back.
Okay, it's back on.
They're back. I don't know if
Yeah.
they really went away.
It was just hidden.
Yeah.
Okay. So tonight, it's my pleasure to introduce Brandon Burbank. He is a mental health advocate, author, and speaker. He was born and raised in Whatcom County and has an AA in Arts and Sciences with business classes, and is the author of the book, Come Back to Success, Relentless Commitment for a Better Tomorrow. Brandon specializes in doing talks on mental health, speaking from a peer-to-peer perspective. He has his peer-to-peer counselor certification from the Washington State Healthcare Authority. The title of Brandon's speech tonight is Embracing Your Mental Health. And by the way, there are cards on the table that he'd like you to complete once you've heard his presentation. And he's going to have a drawing after the fact. So please join me in welcoming Brandon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Audrey, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you so much, the Rotary Club of Conner. And I'm very excited because I am always so passionate and interested in just sharing my story and really giving more folks in this world a chance to learn about mental health, an opportunity to learn about a success story in somebody that's actually gone through real life challenges that are tangible and that are 100% real in my own life. And so, when I was able to just get familiar with everyone here in this audience tonight, I felt really open and excited, and I'm really excited because some of the points that we're going to be addressing tonight are going to be really valid and really helpful for hopefully your own mental health as you continue to grow and find success and happiness in your own life, but then also through helping the people around you in your community and also in your social circle and including your family. And so I'm going to start off with a statistic out there. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, over 50 million Americans are living with a mental illness. And so if you think about it from that standpoint, 50 million Americans, that's a lot of people. And then if you want to take it one step further, the total population of America right now is like over 300 million, roughly. So if you put it in that context, look around and you can see your peers. 1 in 5 Americans are somehow or in some way, shape, or form struggling with mental illness or even a mental health struggle and a mental health challenge. So now, what's inspired me to find this inner drive and inner success to really take the stage and really have these, ask myself, how can I be a person to provide value and insight to other people? And I really, as I think about that, I think about the ways of how I can really share my story to really help give people more understanding of themselves and recognizing that they're not alone when they might be struggling with some type of mental health challenge and mental illness. So, with that being said, I'm going to go more into depth about my story, my personal journey. I grew up in Whatcom County, and I really had a great childhood and really a positive, uplifting environment, being grown up in Bellingham and Ferndale, Washington, and really having the opportunity to really excel in sports and going to church and things like that, and really starting to build success through sports and how I can really excel in my academics. And so it wasn't long after, by the time I graduated from my high school degree, diploma in 2015, I got the degree in 2015, and then I was already looking at what's next for me, what's going to help give me more success, and what's going to help me find my own lane and find my own success and my own path. And so with that being said, I really I started to look at what were some of the opportunities and what I could do to help myself grow. And so even as a kid, I've always been a very driven and like really wanting to be a competitive and successful person, be like, for example, starting a job at the age of 17 at Hagen grocery store, and then just like being successful throughout my soccer career in high school and youth. And so then I studied abroad. After I returned home I studied abroad to Barcelona, Spain after I graduated from high school in 2015. Now, this was a very informative and eye-opening experience for me in my own personal life, because being grown up and raised in Whatcom County for the majority of my youth was like so many different eye-opening experiences that you would not see in America. And so by doing that, by really challenging myself and taking full advantage of those opportunities to connect with the community in Spain and just trying to find myself, long story short, I returned back home from studying abroad, and I ended up becoming more like, well, I would just say like isolating myself and asking myself, is this really the path I want to take, and feeling lost, which I can guarantee you right now, there's a lot of people that are in their youth population or in their young adult, and also adults as well, that are still struggling with what they want to do to find happiness and for their own career path in life. So long story short with that, it's like I ended up being, I ended up in the hospital about 6 months later from studying abroad in Barcelona, Spain. So this was a very dark and difficult time in my life at a young age of 19. So while I was in that hospital, I was diagnosed with a mental illness called bipolar disorder. And so it's just something that where, for me, when I think about that and what it's done for me in my own journey, is that it's helped, it's given me, like, there's so many ups and downs, and sometimes it's hard to find balance and finding understanding of when I'm going to like up in the air and then also up down low because of depression and depressive states. And it's kind of cyclical as well, because that's part of how the condition has, outlined, and also it's part of my own like seasonal affect disorder and things like that. It's very similar with that. But so now, with that being said, that gave you more insight on some of the challenges in the preliminary stages of this diagnosis, what that meant for me in my own life, and how I had to ask myself, am I going to give up on my life and do something really bad or just going down the wrong path? Or am I going to ask myself, how can I get better? How can I continue to pursue my success, and asking, from strength from God, because I feel like I'm committed to my faith, and Christ has helped me really stay focused on something that I believe has helped me along my way with the many recoveries and hospitalizations that I've encountered. So, with that being said, there's 5 steps that are going to help. My goal is to help really give you more of an elaboration and a general understanding of tangible steps that have helped me in my own journey, and giving me more motivation and hope and faith to find the consistency to come back to success when I was, when I was really down and out and felt like I had nothing to offer, nothing to give to the world, and also to sharing and to changing another person's life, until I had to change my own life. And going through these challenges really did that. So 5 steps are this. Step 1, develop self-awareness. Develop self-awareness. Step 2, confide in someone you trust. Step 3, take charge of your life. Step 4, accept change. Step 5, be patient for changes to come. We're going to start with step 1. So with this step, I want to give you more insight on what helped me get out of the slumps, out of the recovery process, and what that looked like. Because when you're in the hospitalization process and being in an actual psych ward, it's very real, and it's very difficult to process and difficult to essentially when you get out of the hospital, it's like how I had to ask myself, what am I going to do with my life? How am I going to get better and overcome this obstacle and these challenges that felt so difficult, and I had so much anger and frustration towards the world and towards myself. And it's like, how do I get through this and find sustainability and direction? So as a result, finding, just little by little and taking each day as it came, and giving myself proper rest, getting back into working. And so I was working at Fred Meyer at the time, and some of my hospitalizations in my early 20s. And what that did to me is it gave me more hope. It gave me, when you have a good day, you just feel so much more rewarded, because you're like, wow, I did something good for my life that's helpful. And there's a lot of people out there that they might be getting out of a hospitalization or some type of challenge with their mental health or depression. And if they are really honest with themselves about what they can provide and the potential that they have to actually be functionable in society and actually be an inspiration for other people out there that are struggling as well, that are actually going through these tangible steps. So another example, like running, walking, exercise, and developing self-awareness, what that comes into alignment with my own personal journey is that I tried a lot of different things that might have helped me at the time in my struggles, but then it also might not have helped me. But at the same time, the fact of the matter is, every single day that I got up out of bed, and even when I didn't want to sometimes, I started to develop self-awareness of what was happening in my own life. And because of finding more compassion for myself and treating myself appropriately and confidently with the right amount of respect that I deserve, just like every single person in this room deserves to have, it has immensely changed my mindset and the way I look at myself and the way I've developed my habits to develop success. Because, I'll be 100% honest with you all right now. When getting up on stage and talking about yourself and talking about some of the things you struggle with for years is a very vulnerable thing to do. And so by being honest with myself about this is what I want to do, and this is kind of, God has essentially equipped me with these gifts that I feel like I have the responsibility of, am I going to challenge myself and actually use them for good and actually inspiring other people, or am I going to just let them go to waste? Because I know that there's a lot of people in this world that have different strengths and different abilities than I don't have. So that's why I find that by developing self-awareness, I've found more insight and more direction to really take myself by the bootstraps and say, okay, maybe I'm having a rough day today, but how am I going to be patient and continue to be persistent and hope for a better tomorrow? Because the faith aspect, which comes with my mindset, is what gives me more peace of mind, and knowing that when things aren't going well, because we all know that things don't always go the right way that we want them to go. That's how life works. And so from me, my losses, those didn't define me. Those challenges, the hospitalizations, the halfway house, the mental health recovery programs, those didn't define me. They're only a part of my story. They're only a part of my journey. And when I really started to take ownership of these experiences that have happened in my life, it's taken my life to an immense level, because I know that it's really only me versus myself. When I get up on stage and when I talk to people and share their, hopefully I make connection points on people that can help change their life, but hopefully, it's going to help them find their own abilities to seek success and seek their own recoveries in their own way. Because, when it comes to mental health, developing self-awareness, everybody's recovery is different. Everybody's way of how they work on their mental health journeys is different. You might have a group of folks that need to, use some type of medication management with a provider, or you might have other people that are more focused on therapy, or you might have somebody that's more focused on exercise, holistic approaches. But that's kind of why I find that trying out what works best for you in your own mental health is going to be the best way to find success and build wellness for your success and happiness. So that was develop self-awareness, step one. Step 2, confide in someone you trust. So this is another tangible experience that has really happened in my own journey. When I returned back home to Bellingham but after studying abroad in Barcelona, Spain. And so what happened was I was isolating a lot and very like depressed and lost, and I felt kind of like a lot of people in this world when they're dealing with some type of mental health challenge, and I'll get to that, they really don't ask for help. Sometimes they don't know how to do that, and that's the problem. And so my advice to everybody today in this room that's, might be wondering, well, hey, I have this friend or I have my family member that's struggling with mental health, but I don't know how to help them. And so to be 100% honest with you on that topic, thinking about it's them, well, okay, if it's a child, it's a different scenario than an adult. But if it's a child, you can still, give them nurturing and support and give them the proper feedback and be a role model in their life to help them find sustainability and stay on the right path. But obviously, if it's an adult, they're making their own decisions. But the best thing that we can do as supporters in somebody's life that is struggling with mental health is to really be somebody to really just have an open ear and trying to authentically and really empathetically listening to that person that is in your life, whether it be a loved one or a friend, because a lot of people in this world don't know how to ask for help. And so as a result, the large majority of people that I've seen in my own experience from my own two eyes is people just swipe their problems under the rug and then let it fester on and on until things get worse, until suicide happens and things like that, hospitalizations. And so I am literally here as a testimony for those that are struggling, because I can say, my life hasn't been easy, and once I came back home from studying abroad. And so anybody that has had a wonderful childhood and upbringing like myself, growing up in Whatcom County, beautiful Whatcom County, is still susceptible to some type of changes. And I'm not trying to say this to scare any of you in this room or in the recording. I'm really just giving you more real life experiences and seeing how this world has a lot of things that are unknown or just challenging. But if we have the right community and the right feedback and the right support from other people, boy, we can really make a huge impact collectively to grow and to find more success and building a lot of innovative accomplishments together. So that's confide in someone you trust. Step 3, take charge of your life. So another really tangible feedback to give you more insight on my history and my background and my story is this. Probably in 2020, so I was, I've had many hospitalizations by the time I was, and by the time 2020 was here, which was about 3 years ago. But this is a significant time in my life because essentially I was starting to build momentum after having these different hospitalizations, going through the halfway house and mental health treatment programs and all those things, that really tested me out to my limits. And yet here I am happy, healthy, managing my condition and managing success and on my way towards building a path for sustainability and also for other people. So that gives you more insight. But what I did was I was like, I was living at home with my parents in Bellingham, Washington in 2020. And I was like, I want to move somewhere else. I want to find something that's going to help me grow, because I'm addicted to personal growth and personal development. Any of my friends would tell you all about it. So because of that, though, I decided to before moving to LA, I moved to Seattle. This is an example I'm giving you as a reference point for taking charge of my life. After all these struggles and hospitalizations, some of the things that I could have really avoided and prevented in my path that just happened, and it was out of my control because it's just what happened, and I'm not going to look back with regrets and with negativity towards myself. So I decided to move to Seattle, and that's when I took charge of my life more and more incrementally. I did that by starting to write this book, Come Back to Success. And I got some motivation from another professor in Bellingham, and she's like, you know what, you should maybe start writing a book because you think your story is powerful. And even now, it's like I'm still developing and growing. But what that's done for me in my life is it told me, you know what, you've been here for, in Seattle at the time for 10 months, why not continue on? So that's what I did. I moved to Southern California, Long Beach, for over 2 years. And that really opened my eyes even more to seeing how blessed I am to have grown up in Bellingham and having a wonderful set of parents who have been very supportive and guiding me and really helping me just try and stay on my path. And not every child gets to choose their own parents. And so kind of like why, being a good role model for the youth population is a great way to give other kids a chance to have a better and brighter future once they become an adult. And then I was, I'm giving you more context on taking charge of my life, because what that did to me was it allowed me to really see the potential of what I could do when I started to take responsibility for my actions and taking accountability for my life. Instead of being in a victimhood mindset, which is what a lot of people in this world that is dealing with depression or mental health struggles, they just, blame other people, or they just have a, walk around constantly with a negative attitude and a negative mindset towards the world, where I don't see it that way. I think that if we start to embrace who we are and forgive ourselves for the things that we've done towards ourselves and towards others, the sky's the limit. And I've felt that way because I've constantly, there's the very popular saying, fall down 7 times, get up 8 times. That's what I've done. That's why I'm here today, is because I've been able to do that consistently. But now it's like learning from my mistakes or learning from the lessons that have come from my actions and decision making in my life. So, and then accepting change really is another example that I'll say is really, I was in a halfway house back in 2017, and what that did to me is, it's very difficult, and I'm not trying to push my pain on you guys at all. I'm just giving you the reality so you can understand what it's like to be 20 years old and put into a halfway house for 30 days and confused at why your life is so in a dumps right now. And so in the midst of those struggles, accepting change is what I did. I started to say, you know what, this is the reality. I can't control everything that's happening around me in this world. So what I can do is accept change. And so what that's done for me is it's helped me embracing when things do dramatically change or shift in my life, whether it be a career path or a living situation. I've been able to accept the realities and not be in a victimhood mindset so I can be successful and a happier person. And the last step is be patient for changes to come. This gives you really more ideas on how long how long I've been at it with this career path as a professional mental health speaker, being an author of the book Come Back to Success, and what that's done for me. I started this business in I would just say speaking about 2 years ago in Long Beach, California. And the times when I actually had audiences was about 3 to 10 people at most. And even then I was very proud of the progress that I've made, because I've learned that from being patient for changes to come and allowing myself to embrace the time it's taken to get to this point in my life, and knowing that a lot of people want it right away, and I'm right there too sometimes, but asking myself, how can I take a step back and recognize that it's a marathon, not a sprint? So as I wrap up this speech today, I want to give you some more just question. What do you need to do right now to take action for your life? What do you need to do right now to maintain and to continue to focus on your own wellness and mental health? I'll repeat the same 5 steps. Step 1, develop self-awareness. Step 2, confide in someone you trust. Step 3, take charge of your life. Step 4, accept change. Step 5, be patient for changes to come. Lastly, I felt like God was there for me when it felt like there was nobody around to pick me up from my life. Go get it, go do it. Thank you. Yes, question.
Question. So it sounds like from your story that when you came back from Barcelona, that's when the true depth of your depression or bipolar condition roared its ugly head.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
So I'm wondering if there was something about Barcelona that was fulfilling for you that you didn't get when you came back to the U.S.
Oh, of course. I think it was just, well, here's the thing. Like, I grew up with a grandmother that was born in Central America, Nicaragua. So as a kid, I traveled to Central America twice, I think.
And you had Spanish.
And I had a little bit of Spanish. And so because of that, you know, I could really converse more deeper with the culture in Barcelona, Spain, than most of my fellow students that were studying abroad. Mm-hmm. And so, but I love that question, because what I would also say about that is, in the midst of the struggles that came with the mental health challenges and all that, I found my calling. Mm-hmm. Like that's the meaning of life for everybody. Everybody's always on the search for, you know, I get to go to my job. What's my purpose though? Like, that's my purpose, is like, God has shown me, and I feel like I've opened my eyes and accepted that by being able to talk about mental health and really sharing my story vulnerably, it helps me feel happy, but then also I know it's making a difference in the community. And that's really what I feel like called to do. So that would be my answer. Yeah.
Brenda, did you see some issues prior to going to Barcelona that you can now look back and say, that was it?
Wow. Not really.
Not really?
No, yeah. All my youth, I was very polite, very respectful, still am, I think. But, like, you know, I maybe had that little bit of depression as a freshman from when I can remember, but it's like, other than that, nothing that was to the point to where I was kind of going this own path. And so that's kind of why I've learned confiding in someone you trust and learning how to ask for help was the biggest way to, you know, end this struggle and not have to like work on, you know, just ending the pain that comes with not feeling understood from another person, another human being, at the minimum. Because I think a lot of us want, at the core, all of us want to be understood and recognized and loved and influenced. So that would be my answer. Yeah.
I have one more.
Yeah.
Do you now see bipolar doesn't go away?
Right now, I don't think there's a cure right now.
There is no cure that I know of. Do you feel it sometimes during your career, through your life now, that you're home and discussing it?
Yeah, of course. I would say I really feel that I have, I have things that I have to manage that maybe you folks in this room don't have to manage and that don't have to worry about on the day-to-day basis. However, you know, somebody told me this and I've really taken heart to that. I select myself personally to put myself at a higher level of responsibility than other people. And I'm not saying that like, I'm saying that because that's how I want to live my life. And because of that responsibility comes, you know, seeing a therapist or seeing a provider and, you know, working with the right mental health professionals in order to be happy. And I would rather be happy. It's a simple no-brainer for me. I'd rather be happy but have like support that I might need than unhappy and miserable but like you know, I wouldn't say the independent aspect, because you can be both, but it's just like, but not fulfilled and feeling like you can be yourself. That would be my answer. Yeah.
19, I'm a physician, and 19 is a classic age for development of bipolar disorder. I spent part of last week going back and forth with email with a grandmother whose granddaughter was falling apart, and the grandmother had all the solutions from 1945 that were mostly useless. But she was fortunately telling me all this stuff of, you know, what causes it, whatever else. We really, you know, and I was able to help Grandma keep her mouth shut. I had to listen to Grandma while Mom and her granddaughter worked through the process, and it was a godsend. And many of us, are grandparents, and we can have a grandchild in crisis, and it's something where we're not in control, and we really, have to be supportive, and sometimes that's not something we should be doing. And it's a major problem in the military because there's lots of people who basically have their first episode in the military under tremendous stress. And and sometimes they aren't like you. They don't decide they're going to take responsibility for it. They spend the rest of the time going around being a victim.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah.
So I have a nephew who has bipolar disorder, and he lives a rather isolated life in Hawaii. And mostly if I happen to be visiting the Big Island, I always see him, but I don't go there that often. So we communicate primarily through Facebook, and I can see when things are not going well for Morgan. What would you suggest for family members who were isolated from him because he lives so far away? But when we see those, when he goes deep, he goes deep. I mean, he's really depressed. And so what would you recommend for other than just being an open ear?
Yeah, 100% with somebody that is struggling with mental illness or mental health. If they are lacking purpose, they are really shooting themselves in the foot. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it might be, don't get me wrong, like it's taken me, 19 years before I found my purpose, and I didn't even start to channel that until 22 or 23. So that would be my answer, is to really recognize when your nephew is going through these challenges, if he has something that gives him motivation and inspiration to get out of bed and to live, that's so much more helpful than if you are just like kind of wandering or just like I was in a lot of my 20s, is just kind of like going in circles and not feeling like I was getting traction like I do now.
Or even a pet.
Oh, he has pets.
Oh, he has pets.
Because you have flowers.
Oh, yeah. You have to walk them. You have to, you have to move.
Any other questions?
Here's one.
What was the name of the book again?
Was there something?
Oh, Christy.
The name of the book is called Come Back to Success, Relentless Commitment for a Better Tomorrow, and it's on Amazon.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, did you have a question?
Yes. Was there, excuse me, was there something specific that happened in Barcelona that triggered you, or was it something that happened when you came home?
Honestly, that's a good question. I say that because a lot of mental illness occurs. NAMI, if you're familiar, they say it's environmental triggers at times. For me, maybe it was the environmental trigger because of the fact that I was just, in this foreign country for so long, but I had this ability to go deeper into a culture, and then that really opened my eyes. And then coming back to America and feeling like, nobody connected with the things that I learned or the viewpoints that I shared and the experiences that I cultivated in Barcelona. And so that kind of was like the perfect storm for how things developed. Yeah.
Could you, I don't know if this is an appropriate question, but could you give us an idea of how much talking therapy was part of your recovery and how much medication was part of your recovery?
Oh yeah. As far as the therapy goes, it's been, off and on, but I try, currently, I still see a therapist because I know that I'd rather be working with somebody that gives me more feedback and a second opinion on things in life. And then, chemically, stuff like that. It's been that's been a very, very slippery slope sometimes. And so I will say that because a lot of other people, I'm not a physician, obviously, as I said, but I'm also like not going to be somebody that's going to endorse, hey, you need to go get medication, or you don't need to get medication. So that would be my answer.
Let me make one comment. You were in Barcelona and doing a lot of growth. You were expanding your consciousness, your knowledge. You were coming into adulthood in a totally different environment that you were handling, and you came back, and it was probably culture shock.
Reverse culture shock.
Absolutely. And that's the sort of trigger that can set it off. The other thing is that a lot of people who are bipolar are very successful. Ted Turner Broadcasting, was bipolar. Now, I was at a meeting where Ted wasn't taking his medicine, but Ted managed the next day to make perfectly good sense. But you need somebody to tell you you're not quite right today. And having a therapist is very important because they will know you and you come in and you don't look quite right. They should be able to almost look at you, especially if you're not married, to have somebody there ready to criticize you before you get any coffee.
Yeah, and the problem with that is there's so much stigma in this world currently, like around in America and in the world, on seeing therapists. And so that's why kind of when I speak about, my openness about therapy and stuff, I think it really can give more people insight in saying, hey, I'm struggling right now, or 5 years down the road from now, they might think, oh, hey, maybe I should see a therapist so I can work through these challenges. So that would be my answer.
Quickly, Freud, for everybody in the room, Freud is dead. That stuff has gone completely out. It's not scientifically based, and nobody does that crap anymore.
What's your opinion on that, John? What's your opinion on that?
One more.
Oh, you got it. Not only opinion, it's the scientific validity.
Okay, Patsy's got the last question,
It's just a thought.
or a thought. Good
So
job.
when
good
you were in
thought.
Barcelona, people were interested in you. They wanted to get to know you. They wanted you to be part of their culture. They asked you questions. They were interested in you. And when you came home, it wasn't reciprocated in the same way. People, and I just wonder, like you said, it's an environmental trigger. So, age is a component because of hormonal changes, but also the environment. And I think as a culture, that's a place that we fall short as a culture, is caring about our people in a way that makes them feel like they matter.
Thank you for sharing. All right, that wraps up the speech. Oh.
Well, you got to answer this one. So Brandon, Barcelona's one of my favorite cities in Europe. What did you think of Gaudi's works? I'm sure you saw some of them.
Yeah, like the Sagrada Familia.
Yeah. Well, that's the greatest. Yeah.
It was very cool. It was very interesting. So yeah.
So when you see any of his works around, it doesn't set triggers off, does it?
No. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So, Brandon,
Oh, and then could you mention?
I have to do one thing for you. Do you want to not have this on?
Not like Saturday.
I'm going to shut the recording off.
Okay, but then I want to talk to you before you leave.
Okay.
Go ahead. So while he's turning the video off, because I guess he doesn't want my part of it on the video. I can't believe it.